What's going on, everybody? It's the Monday edition of the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Nick Whalen, Alex Barutha back with you as we are every Monday. Hopefully you're watching us live on YouTube. If so, throw us some questions, throw us some comments in the chat. Already got some good ones stacking up. We'll hit as many of those as we can over the course of the next 45 minutes or so. Lots to unpack from the weekend. We'll talk some waiver wire, just some players trending up, trending down, guys who've caught our eye over these last few days. But first and foremost, Alex, we are brought to you in part by Vivid Seats this week. The NBA is back in full swing. Don't just catch it on the couch. Lock in your seat this season with the Vivid Seats app, where you'll score the lowest price tickets guaranteed. That's right. Vivid Seats is introducing their new lowest price guarantee, so you know you're getting the best deal all season long. Seriously, try to find a cheaper ticket. Good luck. Every dunk, every drive, every jaw-dropping play from your favorite team, you can see it live and in person. And here's the clincher. When you buy with the Vivid Seats app, you rack up rewards and free credits. Talk about a clutch home court advantage. And if that wasn't enough, Vivid Seats is offering you $20 off your first $200 ticket purchase with the code ROTOWIRE, ROTOWIRE. That's code ROTOWIRE. So step into the NBA season like a pro. Download the Vivid Seats app. Get the best deal in the game with the best prices. Terms apply. All right, Alex, let's start with the waiver wire here. Most leagues that I play in, waivers run late Sunday night. We've had a lot of fireworks in the 15-team RotoWire staff league. The first 2 weeks on the wire were wild. People just, throwing out bids all over the place. A little bit quieter this week, although we did have Jake LaRavia go for $34. My measly $6 bid was not nearly enough.
I am rostering LaRavia in a 12-teamer, so I understand the appeal. I mean, eventually LeBron is going to come back, but it seems like Redick trusts him, So, I mean, I think he could still be fantasy relevant, especially in a deep league when LeBron is back.
Yeah, the LeBron thing is what ultimately pushed me in other directions this week. I had some higher bids, some higher priority players out there, and who knows when LeBron's going to be back, what kind of minutes restriction we could see in the short term. Like, obviously it's going to have a major impact on LaRavia, but I think you're right that he is in the circle of trust for JJ Redick. I think the Lakers are, again, one of the better coached teams in the NBA. I think Redick is kind of good at identifying, which guys fit out there best. And it's been tough to make sense of this rotation because obviously LeBron has been out. Lucas missed a few games. Reeves has been in and out. So like ultimately I'm looking at the raw numbers and it's like, okay, these look pretty good. The steals in particular, he has like multiple steals in I think 4 of his last 5 or 5 of his last 6. It's just, you kind of have to do the homework of like, all right, who is actually in on this night?
Right. And we know who LaRavia is at this point. Like last season and the year before we saw it. He's a guy who you could just take 15 random stats and throw them at the box score. And that's what LaRavia might do on any given night. And he's also shooting kind of above his head right now, but I think he's been good.
Marcus Smart was one of the top pickups in that league. Again, it's a 15-teamer, so we're digging a little bit deep here. Had a couple pop games by his standards in terms of scoring at 17 against the Spurs last week. Again, somebody that I worry about once LeBron is back, once Reeves and Luka are presumably playing every night. There's some steals potential with Marcus Smart. He was not somebody I really had near the top of my list this week.
I was looking to add him in our keeper league, but that's also kind of a deeper format.
Oh yeah.
And look, if you need the steals and the assists, he's going to be there. So again, and he's only shooting 23% from 3 this year. It's going to improve, but by how much really? Like he's going to shoot maybe 30. So it's fine as a speculative ad, but if Marcus Smart, I'd be shocked if Marcus Smart is still on fantasy rosters as like a long-term guy by the end of the year.
Yeah, I think that's how I look at it as well. I think he'll be in the rotation. I think his impact is going to be more real life than it is fantasy. Our old pal Trendon Watford popped off this past week. Triple-double against the Raptors on Saturday. It did come back down to earth yesterday against the Pistons. Detroit winning that game 111-108. 7 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Has started the last 2 games. That obviously the Embiid factor is always going to be in the back of your mind with these big men for the Sixers. Paul George coming back at some point. You still got Bona. You got Drummond. I don't really know how this plays out because I just don't know what the expiration date is on Joel Embiid's season. It probably won't be as bad as it was last year, but who knows? Were you interested in Watford?
I was. Although, I threw some bids early in the day, and then I was watching that 76ers Pistons game, and I kept going back into the ESPN app and being like, maybe I'll cut that bid in half. And then by the end of the game, I was like, maybe I'll knock a few dollars off this bid. He just kind of wasn't involved, which I thought was bizarre because he was extremely involved against Toronto when he had 20, 17, and 10. And look, I think he's better than Dom Barlow, who they were playing at that spot. It's just, this is another thing where we know Watford, he's sort of like a LaRavia, where it's like, if you play him 30 minutes, he can certainly give you 16, 9, and 7 nights. Other nights, he's going to give you 8, 4, and 2 and kind of do nothing. And, you always have the elusive, is Paul George coming back? When Paul George comes back, like what is going to happen with this roster? So I think he's a fine ad, and 12 teamers, like if you added him, don't have buyer's remorse, but like give it a week or two, and then we'll probably have to reevaluate where we are on Watford.
Our guy Shannon McCune picked up Noah Clowney for $13. I like Noah Clowney, the player. It's hard for me to do the box score watching with him and find a ton of utility. Like you'll get some points. I know he had a nice game against Indiana earlier last week. It's coming off of a 1-for-9 shooting game against the Knicks yesterday. That was just a complete beatdown by the Knicks. There's just not a whole lot else there. He's not a high volume rebounder. He doesn't really give you assists. The defensive numbers haven't been there. I guess if you need points, if you're just looking for somebody who might play 30 minutes indefinitely, he started 4 straight now for the Nets. I guess I could see it, but to me, just not a super fantasy friendly stat profile for him yet this year.
Like a few days ago, maybe 5 days ago, I picked up Clowney and Terrence Mann, and a 12 teamer, dropped them already off my roster. And some of it was, I had Dillon Brooks on my IR. So I was like, well, okay, Dillon Brooks is coming back for me. So I'll just drop Terrence Mann for him. Right. But Clowney, I just straight up dropped for Najee Marshall. And the thing is, I actually watched the Knicks game and saw Clowney get his first block of the season, which was incorrectly credited on the broadcast to Nick Claxton.
Oh,
just the disrespect. But the thing with Clowney, he's just a wing. He's just like a 3-point shooting wing now. He doesn't do any of the big man stuff. He doesn't do any of the skinny Al Horford stuff we thought he might be doing when he got drafted. He's just a shooter now.
So
not a good one.
No, not a good one. He will shoot, but he may not do so efficiently. My big pickup of the week was Julian Champagnie of the San Antonio Spurs. Moved to the bench with Fox back in the lineup in their last game, which was anticipated. I had bids in on both him and Harrison Barnes. Like the numbers for those guys have been astonishingly similar so far this year. So I was just kind of fine with whichever one of them fell into my lap. It's 4-game week for the Spurs. So that was part of it. Certainly expecting a little bit of a comeback. Champagnie had back-to-back double-figure scoring games with Fox back in the mix. That was going to decline, but the steals have been there. He's been shooting threes lately. The rebounding has been really consistent. I think he had at least 5 rebounds in like 7 of his first 8 games. So ultimately tempering your expectations in a 15-team league, but I could not start either AJ Green or Bobby Portis again this week.
Understandable. Yeah, Champagnie, if you watch the Spurs games, that man loves the corners. I'm surprised he has not burned a spot on my television where he stands in the corners from all the Spurs games. That I see that number 30 just standing on the left wing. But yeah, his shooting's been great. Obviously, you mentioned it. He's coming off the bench now, but they're going to rely on him a ton just to continue hitting threes. And his steals production's been solid, so it's a good pickup for deep leagues.
So I was a little surprised to see Derik Queen was still available in this league. Again, it's a 15-teamer. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel every week. This is now, 3 straight semi-impressive games from Derik Queen. Yeah. The Pelicans are letting him cook, as they say. I think it was the Charlotte game. Was that last Tuesday? So right after we did this pod, we have not had a chance to discuss it here. There was like an 8-minute stretch where they're just like, we're running everything through you, man. Do whatever you want. That included a lot of really nice plays. It also included an 80-foot alley-oop off the backboard. That was one of the worst passes I've seen this season. But you see the signs with Derik Queen, right? There's a reason that Basketball Reference is now calling him Baby Jokic. I don't know if I would go quite that far, but over these last 3 games, 12 points, 7 rebounds, almost 6 assists, 2.5 steals. Now, 7 of those came in the first 2 games, but he's been active defensively. You're going to have to live with some inefficiency. If you're in a league that has turnovers, that might be an issue, but you can at least see the vision with Derik Queen.
You can. I think the lingering question with Queen is what happens when Zion comes back. But you're right that it's hard to know what to do, how to feel about this, because he has looked very good at times. And I can't remember if I was watching the Spurs game. It probably was the Spurs game where they were more or less like running their offense through Queen. I mean, they were basically treating him like he was Şengün. They were getting him in the Şengün spots at the elbow and on the post, and then they were running a bunch of off-ball screens and cuts, and Queen was trying to find guys. And my question is like, that can't also happen with can that happen with Zion on the court? And also, why was Zion not doing that?
Yeah. Well, Poole's also missed the last 2 games too, so I think that's made it a little bit easier.
But Fears has been in, and I mean Murphy. It's helped Murphy a lot. Murphy's had some good games lately, so it's hard to say like, oh, you have to add Queen, and I think you should. But again, what happens in a week from now? I don't know.
I don't know what happens a week from now. I don't know what happens a day from now with the Pelicans. And even if you're projecting this long term, it's like, all right, they're in last place in the West. They're 2-7 this season. I would be very surprised if the Pelicans turn this around and they're pushing for a play-in spot. Like at some point, do you maybe they're already doing this? Are you trying to justify this ridiculous trade that you made for Derik Queen? It's like it's a team that is not very good, but it's also not constructed like the Wizards, where it's like, all right, when we can, we'll sell off McCollum or Middleton, or they'll find their way off this roster. We have all this youth. Like the Pelicans, on the surface, like built a team that they thought would be way better than it is. So this idea of like, all right, let's kind of turn things over to Derik Queen and see what happens. Like that's way easier said than done when you have so many other established to semi-established pieces on the roster.
Well, yeah, because you don't have your own pick.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's just,
well, that's down the river at this point. They're not salvaging that.
No. So I have my criticisms about Derik Queen. Like he needs to get in better shape, like all that stuff. But I don't think Kevon Looney should be playing over him. And obviously, Yves Missi has not looked very. I'll say I'm gonna come out and say it. And Yves Missi has not looked that good either. Like he's athletic and he can get a couple dunks and get a couple blocks, but like half the time he doesn't even look at the rim.
Right.
So I think there is an opportunity for Queen to, continue playing 25, 26 minutes a game when Zion comes back over those other centers. But then what happens to the usage? What happens to the assists? Is he just going to average 12 points, 7 rebounds in 24 minutes with like 2 assists, and then he's just a fringe guy in fantasy?
To close the book on the Pelicans here, this will probably be the end of the Pelicans discussion for the show. You mentioned Trey Murphy finally popped off on Saturday against San Antonio. Another loss for New Orleans, but 41 points on 22 shots, 5 of 11 from 3, 6 of 6 at the line, 41, 9 and 3 with a steal for Trey Murphy. Prior to that, I mean, he was on the list of, I think, biggest letdowns so far this season. I did a video for YouTube last week about, guys to buy low on, and like him and Desmond Bane were the 2 guys I wrote down immediately. But we'll talk more Bane later in the show. That hasn't gotten a whole lot better. I hope this is an inflection point for Trey Murphy. Obviously this is an outlier game regardless, but first 8 games of the year, he's playing 36 minutes per game, 15 points, 6.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 1.3 steals, 38% from the field, but 36% from 3. Like when I dug in on the numbers with Murphy, it's not a Peyton Pritchard situation where it's like, all right, once he starts hitting threes, everything should be fine. Like he's not getting to the rim. He's not finishing at the rim at nearly the rate that he was last season, about 10 percentage points lower in terms of finishing inside of 3 feet. And, the free throw rate is way down. Again, last 2 games, 10 total attempts. We'll take that. But the previous, 7 games, I think he had like 14, 13 total free throw attempts. So just some early trends to monitor on Trey Murphy, because the raw numbers are down, but the free throws and getting to the rim specifically have been the issue.
Yeah, getting to the rim, and it's also shooting almost no corner threes anymore. I don't know how much that really has to do with anything, but and some of it too is the defensive stats. Like he was a guy we thought might average close to a block per game, and he's at 0.2. Right. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but half a block or 0.6 blocks in the long term of like in fantasy, that it definitely means something. It can bump a guy up like 20 or 30 spots in the rankings, depending. So I'm not panicking on Trey Murphy. I'd be buying low, now you can't buy low now that you have 41 points, but I believe he'll ramp back up.
I think he's going to be fine. I think it's going to be fine. I think he's somebody you could probably buy at a pretty reasonable price. 4 games this week. They get Phoenix, Portland, the Lakers, and the Warriors. So some good, some bad in terms of matchups in there. And then they have 3 straight 4-game weeks coming up.
Wow.
So if you're in a league where you lock everything in on Monday, it's something to consider. All right, we'll hit some questions in the chat in just a moment. But first, are you tired of paying for live TV you don't watch? With Sling, you can get all the live sports, news, and entertainment you want, only when you want it. Get your hands on a Sling Day Pass, Week Pass, or Weekend Pass starting at just $4.99. Get over 30 of your favorite channels for the best price. You can stop overpaying for full-time live TV plans. Sling has a pass for any occasion. Is there a big game tonight? Grab a day pass for just $4.99. Want a week of live TV for one low price? You can get a 7-day week pass. And for all those weekend watchers out there, you can enjoy live sports, news, and entertainment from Friday morning to Sunday night with a weekend pass. Only Sling lets you watch when you want, so you only pay for what you're watching. Get live TV for the day, the week, or the weekend, your choice, all for a great price. Watch live TV on your terms, starting at just $4.99. Sling TV lets you do that. Use the link below to sign up. You can check that out in the YouTube description, or if you're listening in podcast form over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever, you can find it in the description there. All right, Alex, we got a lot of great questions in the chat. By the time we jumped in here to do the show, we already had like 15 in here. So we appreciate those as always. P-Dub says, good afternoon, guys. I just dropped Kata today to add Jakob Poeltl off of waivers. Was this the right move? We'll start there. It's a 2-part question, but we'll address that one first.
Yeah, I think Poeltl, I mean, he's out again. He was out for Saturday's game.
It was back-to-back.
It was back-to-back, and he had been dealing with a back issue. And so his first game was like, I mean, 8 points and 9 rebounds in 20 minutes is good. And then, 12 and 10 with 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block in 25 minutes was also good. So Poeltl should be better than Kata, is I think the long story short on this.
I just worry about this back issue recurring. As somebody who has Poeltl in the stake league, I've gotten like 2 games out of him so far this season because he missed time, and then I was scared to start him last week. It is a 3-game week this week for Toronto. So that's something to consider. All 3 of those are road games, but no back-to-backs. They don't play another back-to-back until the 23rd and the 24th. So I think he sat out because it was a back-to-back, because he had just returned. But definitely monitor that heading into the week. Raptors don't play until Tuesday night. Part 2 of the question was offered Franz for Jaren Jackson Jr. in a 10-team 9-cat league. And he says he also has Jokic, Bam, and Porzingis.
I mean, if you have Jokic, Bam, and Porzingis, you're clearly fine in your front court. Like, you should not be having center and forward issues. So I think I would take Franz to shore up your wings.
I think I would too, even just ignoring the team context aspect. I mean, Memphis has been kind of a mess right now. Morant is not playing well. I know Jaren Jackson's had multiple blocks in 3 of his last 4. It's just, I don't know. He's like my least favorite player to watch, even though I respect his game. I don't like the shot selection. I don't like the lack of rebounding. You're getting no assists. You're getting no steals. And on balance, the shot blocking, it's just not what it was 3 years ago when he was a 3 block per game guy. If he could just get you 1.5 now, that feels great. But I just think there's this like lingering memory of Jaren Jackson Jr. helping you win a fantasy league in 2022. And like, he's just not the same guy defensively. Like, there's such a huge drop off going from 3 blocks per game to 1.3.
Well, and they're going to get Zach Edey back, and there's going to be even fewer rebounds for Jackson to grab. And the thing was, I was watching the OKC Memphis game the other night, and this goes for Ja as well. Those guys are like just not that involved in the offense. They're kind of doing their own thing, and they're not able to rack up assists the same way other guys on the roster are. And it kind of felt like towards the end of that game, Morant and Jaren Jackson were taking turns trying to get their numbers and like not playing within the offense. And I was like, this situation, it just does not feel good.
Those guys are checked out, I think, on the coach in Memphis. Morant obviously has been checked out. I think Jaren Jackson's getting there. That's you phrased it perfectly. Like, when you watch the Grizzlies, it's like, what is going on here? Like, there's no flow offensively. Like, I feel more comfortable, I guess, with Ja Morant trying to get his numbers than Jaren Jackson, because it doesn't necessarily look pretty when Jackson tries to do that. But they're just like, it just feels like kind of a sinking ship type of team that I would not be looking to acquire pieces of the Memphis Grizzlies right now. All right, next question. Hey guys, I'm full on bigs. He's got Kaltbrenner, Klingan, Porzingis, Turner. He's got Edey in the IL spot. I know that might be too much, but I was thinking of trading Klingan and Tumani Camara for Quentin Grimes or for Cedric Coward to open up some space. What do you think?
I mean, out of that group, I think in terms of rest of season value, there's a chance Camara is better than both Grimes and Coward, right?
There's a
I mean,
chance, yeah.
Grimes is playing great right now. I don't want to take away from Grimes. He's also coming off the bench, and seemingly Paul George is going to come back.
Seems like a threat.
Yeah, I would try to get more than that. I would for Klingan and Camara. I would try to get more than that.
I think Klingan still has name value, right? Like there's a little like Walker Kessler-ness to him. Like I think you're right. I think you could do better. Maybe even just a 1-for-1 for one of those guys. Like I don't think I would make a 2-for-1 for Grimes or Coward.
Yeah, Coward's been good. I don't know. I think you might be able to get more, or maybe trade Klingan and Camara for one guy. Maybe you can find someone in your league who's dealing with injuries, and you're like, hey, I'll give you two guys.
Yeah.
You just give me one back.
All right. Dan says, is Christian Braun a must roster? He's been pretty stinky, even with Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray out for the last game.
I think he is. The thing that stands out when you look at Christian Braun's stats is that he's shooting 17% from three. And when that goes back up to like 38%, assuming it does, it should, then he's going to be a lot better. Now his free throw percentage is also kind of low. So this is one of those situations where when guys are down shooting across the board, it affects their points, it affects their 3-point, it affects their field. Like it drags everything down at once. So when he starts shooting better, I think he'll be fine. I would still consider him a must roster.
Are you concerned at all about the relative lack of volume? Can we chalk that up to just, I'm not shooting it well, I'm not going to take as many? He hasn't taken more than 4 threes in any game, and most nights it's been 2 or 3.
Well, the assists are up, so that's good.
Yeah.
And I maybe more than anything, it's the minutes. He's down like 3 minutes a game compared to last season.
The Bruce Brown effect.
Honestly, kind of.
Yeah.
I would still hang on to him, but I would not mind. I think I understand why you might want to drop him, but I would actually put him on the trade block first because there's probably somebody in your league that would want him. So put him on the trade block first and see what happens.
All right. Kenny says pick 2 of the following. So we got Collins, we got Brooks, we got Gillespie, Stewart, Brandon Williams, and Jaden Ivey also sitting out there on waivers. Probably looking at a late November at the earliest return for Jaden Ivey.
I would say just give me Dillon Brooks and Jaden Ivey. Like, I think that's your long-term. Yeah. That's your long-term play.
I think long-term, yes. I'm still assuming this is John Collins, which I don't think it's Sharon Collins. I'm still a John Collins sympathizer. I think there's a decent chance Kawhi misses this entire week. So if it's just for this week, I think there's some meat on the bone for John Collins. Longer term, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I've been interested in what Isaiah Stewart is doing. I mean, Jalen Duren keeps putting up big numbers. Stewart, didn't play the other night, and he's already been ruled out for tonight's game against the Wizards. But in how many he's played 8 full games, he's given you basically 12 points, 7 rebounds, couple assists, 2.5 blocks. The block numbers have been fantastic for him. Pistons are totally comfortable playing the 2 big men, so he'd be in consideration for me. Although we just don't know how much time he's going to miss with this ankle.
JB Bickerstaff said that he is the best rim protector in the league. That's a direct quote.
Okay. Well, there we have it. He's the best.
Yeah.
Victor Wembanyama, move over. All right. Well, on that note, let's move over to another question here. In a 12-team 9-cat league, who should I drop? Tobias Harris or Daniel Gafford? Would it be better to pick up Poeltl, Fears, Filipowski, or McConnell?
That's tough because, I mean, in theory, Gafford should be worse because Derek Lively is eventually going to come back. I would say you probably drop Gafford because of that, and then they're going to, in theory, they're going to play some Anthony Davis at center. I just don't know how much is going to be there for Gafford. So I'd probably drop him. Between that group, probably Poeltl or Fears.
Yeah,
I would say. And if you're in a cat league, I would just pick up whichever of those guys the stats you need. Poeltl's probably safer than Fears, but Fears has some real pop too.
Yeah, Filipowski, he hasn't been starting. The minutes have been all over the place. He kind of needs like a lot of minutes to be fantasy viable because it's really for the most part just points and rebounds. Every now and then you'll get some assists. Doesn't really give you much on the defensive end. He'll hit some threes, but I just don't really trust the Jazz rotation night to night. Man, dropping Tobias Harris already. This is earlier than I thought. I like as my last starter. I never mind having Tobias Harris, but I get he's missed a bunch of time, and it's basically just like a souped up Harrison Barnes at this point. All right, Zach Edey or Wendell Carter rest of season.
That's got to be Zach Edey. I've gotten the feeling. I have gotten the feeling from people on Twitter that I feel like Edey is being extremely underrated, and I think some of that is because everyone was like, "Oh, you don't have to draft him because." Especially in shallower leagues, because he's going to be hurt for so long, and you look at his full season numbers last year. But Edey, if he's going to play 28, 29 minutes a game, I think is going to be a monster.
Yeah, I mean, just to give some context here, so his last 20 games of last season, which was 25.6 minutes per game, 9.5 points, 10.2 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 1.7 blocks, 60% from the field, about 71% from the free throw line.
Yeah, Wendell Carter's been fine. He's having a much better year than he was before. But to me, Edey is, he's a must-add player. He just shouldn't be on waiver wires.
Yeah. All right, who to pick up and use today? Isaiah Collier or Tre Mann, the big two.
It worried me a bit that Collier was not in the rotation when he was healthy, and then played in a complete slaughter by the Minnesota Timberwolves and had like 3 assists and 4 turnovers. I would just trust Tre Mann more.
What a sentence. I'm kind of with you. Like in a spot like this, you're looking to avoid the 9 minutes, 1 point, 1 assist type of game.
You can't take you can't take the risk of a DMP. I mean, right. Collier might actually be a DMP. Like you just take Tre Mann because he's going to play.
Yep. All right. So to stick on the Zach Edey thing, how do we project Zach Edey's upside this season? Would you drop Kuminga for him?
See, that's interesting.
That's a question.
That's interesting to me. Especially in a category league. I think it would be fine to do so. I do sort of wonder like what the end game is with Jonathan Kuminga, because he started off so hot and now he's back to being Jonathan Kuminga. When you look at his full season numbers, you know what I mean? Like his shooting percentages is back to normal and his steals and blocks have normalized. Yeah. And I think I would rather have Edey. The issue here is that someone is going to scoop up Kuminga. Like if you have time or you have the ability to try to trade Kuminga, I would do it. But I think I would rather have Edey.
Since going 4 of 6 from 3 on opening night, Kuminga is shooting 26% from 3. That's been part of the issue. The free throws have come and gone. I don't understand the lack of defensive stats for a guy who has that kind of size and is that athletic. Like, I'm not saying you have to be Amen Thompson, but you should be like part of the way there.
100%. And the thing was, I thought sort of the like condition of Kuminga was going to be like he was going to try more on defense because
yeah.
I'm not a Kuminga guy.
Who was the player that was it was Wiggins, right? Where he had to like promise the GM that he would try harder and they'd given him an extension, kind of that type of situation.
Yeah, when they gave him a max deal, I think.
Do you just promise you'll get better? And he's like, yeah,
of course. I do get those vibes from Kuminga, which he's just kind of like, I promise I'll try harder. And
I don't like what's going on with his sideburns too. Like there's just like a lack of cool factor with him. He should be way cooler.
He looks like he cuts his own hair.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's a big problem. Yeah. All right. I need a big, says JP. Thinking about dropping Josh Minott for Quentin Post. Thoughts? We're digging
Not
deep
for
here.
Post. I wouldn't do it for Post. I understand that he's been playing and he's been playing fine. But some of this is like Horford has missed some games and, Curry's been out and Butler had missed some time. And
Draymond missed a game.
And I understand the frustration with Minott. To me, this question is more about Minott. Like, are people dropping Minott? And I think if you're in a 10-team league, I would not blame you for dropping Minott. If you're in a 12-team points league, don't blame me for dropping Minott. Even in like a 14-team points league. But I still think if you take Josh Minott's like week, then his numbers over the course of a week, it'll be fine. It's just game to game, it's going to give you problems.
All right, another Minott adjacent question. Should I drop Cam Johnson for Minott or Grayson Allen, or keep the faith on Cam?
I think I would seriously consider dropping Cam Johnson for Grayson Allen.
Okay. Yep. That's where we are. I did find myself looking at some of the leaderboards this morning on Basketball Reference. Made threes per game on the year. Grayson Allen, 4th in the NBA. Royce O'Neale, 5th.
Yeah. I mean, well, now you have the Jalen Green re-injured his hamstring.
Yep.
So he's going to be out a while. And I was still relatively high on Grayson Allen even when Jalen Green came back. But there is really nothing to suggest that Allen is going to play worse than he has been playing. And if you want to do 8 cat value, he's ranked 73rd.
Crazy.
So
yeah, I mean, he's averaging over a steal per game. That's been part of it. He's giving you some assists. Like, I mean, Suns, I think they've won 4 of the last 5.
I mean, two years ago, he ranked 77th per game in 8 cat. I mean, he's done this before. Player. He's been this guy. So I think I would drop Cam Johnson for him. Yeah.
All right. Back to Pelicans talk. Anthony asks, in a 12-team head-to-head points league, should I drop Fears or Herb Jones?
In a points league, I would drop Herb Jones. Yeah. Because Fears is going to launch shots, and we know volume is king in points leagues, and Jones is going to have some nights where he takes like 4 shots.
We've reached this point in the show. Russell Westbrook or Kelly Oubre? I love it.
To me, this is just probably Westbrook. I mean, if you look at his last game, it's going to look terrible because Minnesota beat them 144 to 117.
Yep.
But Westbrook's giving you everything, man. The shooting's going to come down. There's all the caveats with Westbrook. He's not a 45% three-point shooter, blah, blah, blah. But he is playing 30 minutes a game for them. He's putting up big numbers. That's it.
All right. Well said. Is Matas Buzelis a drop in a 9-cat 12-team head-to-head league?
You can't be dropping Buzelis. You just can't do it. I get that not just but everyone was projecting him for a much better season than he's having. And I wasn't even that high in terms of I didn't think he was going to really become a better passer or anything. I just thought he would come in and take more shots and block more shots, and the shot blocking hasn't been there, right, which is part of it. But he's still a top 100 player 8-cat right now, and he's still a huge part of their offense. So
where exactly was this major leap supposed to come? Like, if you had told me 3 weeks into the season Matas Buzelis is averaging almost 15 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, and close to 2 combined blocks and steals, and he's shooting 47% from the field and 38% from 3, I would say that's fine.
I think the leap was in theory well, honestly, a big portion of this is just the shot blocking. Like, he averaged 1.8 blocks per 36 last year. He's at 1.1.
Okay.
And that's a huge portion of your fantasy value. And I think there was some hope that he'd be closer to 3 assists a game, right, or 2.5 assists a game and not 1.2. But he's a shooter, man. He gets buckets. That's what he does. But don't drop him.
All right. Thoughts on Kawhi Leonard? Thinking of buying low with the injury. I guess I'm uniquely qualified to answer this because I have Kawhi in our very important league, and I've got, I think, 4 games out of him. He's been great for the most part when he's on the court.
Yeah, he has.
But yeah, I mean, you have the overall Kawhi injury concerns now on top of this ankle injury, which I wish there was IR, true IR in the NBA, like there is in the NFL, when it's all right, this guy's we know he's going to be out at least 4 weeks. We're putting him on IR. He cannot play during that span. Find other options. Now Ty Lue is just going up and be he's going to miss some time. He's just going to miss some games. And it's all right, he's already missed 3, and you're going into a week where I'd love to have him out there. I highly doubt, that he's going to play to begin the week. He might already be ruled out for their first game, which I think he is. So
yeah, he's not going to play.
Yeah, he's not going to be in my lineup this week, even though it's a 4-game week. To me, it's best case, maybe you get Friday and Sunday, and worst case, you don't get any games from him. It's tough because the Clippers clearly need Kawhi Leonard. This has been a pretty bad team whenever he's off the court, whenever he's sidelined. They have names on the roster. A lot of these names are not the players that they were 5 years ago. That includes Harden. It means Brook Lopez. It means Brad Beal. And if they're going to like there's more, I think, impetus for Kawhi to play in the regular season this year than there's been in a while because of how competitive the West is and like this mini hole that they've already dug themselves. So I'm not looking to offload Kawhi in our league, for instance, in the same way that I was Lauri Markkanen 3 weeks into last year, because I don't see like the tank coming. But you know what you're signing up for with Kawhi. You know, the nice thing with him is that for the most part in his career, he's avoided these kind of injuries, like the sprained ankle. You know, it's really just, is he out for the rest of the season or is he out there? But you're going to have to deal with sitting back to backs when he's healthy. If you could buy low enough, I would do it, but just know what you're signing up for. It's a frustrating fantasy experience.
Can I throw you some names?
Sure.
And whether or not you would trade Kawhi Leonard for this person?
Okay.
Alex Sarr.
You could have given me 100 guesses and I would have not said Sarr. I would think about it. Yeah, I think I would.
Mikal Bridges.
Mikal Bridges. All right, I need to do an updated look on his numbers.
He basically the story on him is he's passing a lot better.
Well, and he never misses games. That's the thing. Like you're going from the guy who might play 40 games to the guy who is like the biggest lock to play 82. I think I would say no to that trade, and then like 3 weeks later, I would repropose it.
I'm gonna assume this is a no. Yeah, this has to be a no. You would not do it for like Zach LaVine.
I have the utmost respect for Zach LaVine, who carried me to a 7th place finish in this league last year. But no, I wouldn't. I don't like what I'm seeing from the Kings.
All right, last name, and I think this one would probably be close for you. Miles Bridges.
Miles Bridges. Well,
he's having a good year.
He's currently banged up. He's probable for tonight's game, so he should be back. Miles Bridges. I mean, he definitely went for more than Kawhi, significantly more than Kawhi in the auction. Yeah, I think I would do that. You know, I think the Hornets will be competitive enough, and he's also played through the tank these last couple of years.
Right. And so to answer Jones' question, like those are the kinds of names that we just talked about. Like you could throw out an offer, and you might be able to get Kawhi for that because it's a hard decision to make.
Yeah. Exactly. All right, we'll hit some more questions in the chat in just a moment. But we're also brought to you this week by Chalkboard. Cash in on your NBA picks this season with Chalkboard. Simply choose more or less on your favorite player stats to win up to 5,000 times your money. For a limited time only, new players get a free pick and a 100% deposit match. See why over 1 million fans have already locked in with Chalkboard to turn their knowledge into cold, hard cash. Whether you're locking in the perfect slip with alternate lines, using the cash out feature to take your money and run, or hammering the daily promos, today is your chance to win up to $40,000 on a single entry. Stop sitting on the sidelines. Get into the game with Chalkboard Fantasy Sports, now available in 30 plus states. Download Chalkboard today. Use our promo code ROTONBA, not ROTOWIRE, ROTONBA. Put in that code. You'll get a free pick and a 100% deposit match over at Chalkboard. All right, we'll go rapid fire through a handful more of these questions here. A lot of good ones stacking up. A lot of Derik Queen questions I'm seeing here. We mentioned Royce O'Neale when we were talking about Grayson Allen earlier. Daniel asked, is Royce O'Neale a must in shallow leagues?
In shallow leagues, I don't think so. But I can see the argument for it because I think Jalen Green's going to be out for a while. Dillon Brooks is going to do his thing. I just don't know. Their their entire rotation is thin. They don't really have much after their top 5 or 6. So you can add him. I wouldn't consider him a must roster player in a shallow league.
I mean, we go through this with Royce O'Neale every year where there's like a week or two where if you pick him up at the right time, it works out. We haven't seen this level of like sustained shooting from him or even like sustained workload, I guess. And now with Jalen Green back out, it's still not a must roster for me, but I think you're totally defensible to throw him out there. You know, again, he's what, 5th in the NBA in total made threes per game. I think he's hit multiple threes in all but one game or maybe every game already this season.
I mean, if the question is like, is what Royce O'Neale is what he's doing right now sustainable? I think the answer is mostly yes.
Yeah. That's a good way to frame it. All right. Edward says, is Beal ever going to be picking things up this season? 12-team category league.
Yikes.
I don't know, man. It's not looking good.
This is pretty bad. It's been really rough, man. I mean, the fact that they lined him up for his revenge game against Phoenix, and then he
back to back.
And he went 2 for 14 in the first one. His usage rate is still high, which is pretty crazy. I don't think it's going to get that much better. I'm not rostering him anywhere, but I think I would drop him.
I mean, it's pretty much indefensible to roster him if his name wasn't Bradley Beal, right? If it was like, I don't know, Nehemiah Smith, you'd be like, yeah, obviously I'm not rostering this guy, but there's a memory of Bradley Beal in your mind. I know he's only played 6 games so far this year. He hasn't played more than 21 minutes in any of those games. Like you said, the usage rate, the per minute stuff is kind of right where it should be in terms of just getting shots up, but he's not doing anything. He has like 5 total rebounds on the year. He has like 8 total assists. There's been no defensive production. He's hitting a couple threes every now and then, but everybody's doing that. Like if you're in Brad Beal, if you're in the Brad Beal market because you think he can hit some threes, there are like a million bench players in the NBA who could give you 2 threes per game for a week. I just don't see it. Like there's been opportunity with Harden out, with Kawhi out, and we've seen no change.
And I mean, part of it too, I think some people, like you mentioned, the idea of Bradley Beal. And I think some of that baked in is like, well, he's only 32 years old, but we have seen a lot of guys who were once high level players. Their bodies give out on them when they're 31 or 32. It happened to Kemba Walker. Body completely gave out on him when he was like 31. Blake Griffin, around the same age, 31, 32, 33. It was just over. So it's not surprising. It shouldn't surprise you that we're here with Beal.
I think his mind has given up on him as well as his body. That might be part of it. I'm not interested. All right, here's a good question from Daniel. Will Tre Jones be a drop in a 10-teamer once Coby White is back full steam? Coby White currently with the Windy City Bulls this week, ramping up.
I am rostering Tre Jones in a deeper league, and I will hold him, but in a 10-teamer, he probably will be a drop, I'm imagining. Yeah. I don't know if the usage or the minutes are going to be the same.
Yeah. Is Kyshawn George a hold given his recent production? We have talked more Kyshawn George on this pod than I think all of last season combined.
We have. If by his recent production you mean 2 bad games, like yes, you should hold him. You know, like it's everybody's going to have different tolerances for bad games, but with a guy like Kyshawn George, who is clearly a significant part of what Washington is doing offensively and has big defensive upside, it's going to take me like 8 games for me to even start thinking about it. You know, like I tell this to, I don't know if you're new to fantasy or anything like that, but I always tell people who are new to fantasy basketball, like you still mostly should think of the NBA season in weeks like you would for NFL. You know, like this would sort of be like asking, you know, the 8th best player on your fantasy football roster, like, well, he had one bad week. Should I drop him? No, like just random.
Yep. I think even if you omit, his 2 best games of the year were game 1 and game 2, including that 34-11 against Dallas. Even if you take off those first 2 games, so last 7 games, and that's with 2 bad ones in a row, he's still averaging 13 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, half a block, 48% from the field, 39% from 3. And like that's like the bad sample.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Speaking of the Wizards, is CJ McCollum a hold all of a sudden in 12-team cat leagues?
First of all, I don't blame anyone who dropped him. Well, for now, hold him. If he's gonna play this much and shoot this much, yeah, hold him. Some of this is like Middleton had missed some time and Koulibaly's been out.
Kyshawn George missed the Cleveland game, I think.
Hang on to McCollum for now. But if everyone is healthy for like 3 or 4 games and then McCollum goes back to averaging like 12 points and 2 assists, you can probably just drop him again.
What do we do with Trae Young and Brandon Miller? What about Kyrie Irving? So guys dealing with, semi to long-term injuries.
Gotta hold him.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Kyrie is kind of in his own category where it was like, he was still drafted in most leagues. I think somebody got him for a couple bucks in the auction, and it just kind of is like, do you want him to occupy your IR spot? How many IR spots do you have? Whereas with Trae and Brandon Miller, obviously they got hurt in season, so it's a little bit different.
I mean, the Mavericks are horrible. Like
real bad.
Horrible. So if it's January and they have 12 wins, is he coming back? Like, you know,
I think he comes back. It's just what you're getting at is like, all right, there's a difference between we need you back and we're going to try to make the play in, or we're going to try to make the playoffs versus let's just get your legs under you. You're not playing back to backs. You're playing 20 minutes for the first couple of weeks. All of a sudden it's mid-March and the season's almost over. I mean, Kyrie's probably my favorite player to watch and a lot of people's favorite player to watch. I hope we get some of him this year. I never really considered taking him in any fantasy leagues.
No, but I don't blame people who did. You know, especially like a lot of
there were some optimistic reports too.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people play in 2 IR leagues, which I think every league should be a 2 IR league. But that made all the sense in the world to take him.
The Mavs have a 103.9 offensive rating on the year. Not the worst in the NBA. The Pacers have officially eclipsed them, but yeah, it's not good. That's not good. I think Nico's back on the hot seat. But I do want to ask you about Cooper Flagg because I still think it's been fine. They're playing him out of position. He's still getting counting stats every night, but it hasn't, maybe part of it is because, Harper was playing well, Edgecombe playing well, Knipple is just putting up numbers every single night. So this season has not been like as Cooper Flagg focused as maybe I thought it would be, when you have a prospect like that. And like, I think Dallas has just been so bad to watch that it's kind of faded away. But if you drafted Cooper Flagg in, we'll say the 4th round of your draft, how are you feeling about that right now?
In the 4th round of my draft, not that bad. It's not a disaster. It's not good, but it's not a disaster. And the thing is, this is hard to do in terms of like pure fantasy value, but his numbers are going to look a lot better if you take away that game against OKC where he scored 2 points, had 2 boards, and hurt his shoulder.
Yep.
And if you straight up just take that away from his stat profile, he's averaging 15, 7, and 3 with 1.8 stocks, 43% from the field, 96% from the free throw line. Pretty solid. So I think the hope is that he just rounds more into form. Yeah, I mean, given the disaster around him, I mean, if you put it in the context of what he's working with, I think this has actually been a fine year for him so far.
He's been extremely consistent. I'll say that. Outside of the OKC game, which I know he got hurt, but he played 31 minutes. Like that was bad. That was a bad spot for him. That's like OKC saying, "All right, let's sick these guys on this rookie and make him have a bad night." And that's exactly what happened. I mean, he's basically giving you kind of the same numbers every night, which is good, but I think you'd almost prefer like a couple bad games and then like a 37-point game out of Flagg. Like that to me is where I'd be like, okay, like not even, projecting this for him like long-term, but just like you thought there'd be some splashier performances, like we've seen from Edgecombe, like we've seen from Knipple.
Yeah. And and this was something we talked about before the season, which was how is he going to rack up all these defensive stats playing shooting guard?
Right.
How is he going to rack up these blocks? He's actually been doing kind of better than I thought almost.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. The situation's bad because they're taking a guy who should be playing the 3 or the 4 and they're playing him at point guard.
Well, they're trying to fit him around their roster, which is already too big man heavy. And it's like, I do think long-term, maybe this does benefit him, like in terms of developing him as a ball handler, as a playmaker. So maybe that's where the priority is, but
trial by fire.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, it really reminds me of the Durant conversation when Carlissimo was trying to make him a 2 guard back in the Sonics days. And, KD was KD, so he made it work, but they also punted on that pretty quickly.
Yeah. And I mean, there's, again, because of their offense, he just takes a lot of mid-range jumpers.
Yeah.
Like you watch him play and it's funny because it is funny to me because it's exactly like, the people on Twitter who are like, I wish old school basketball was back.
Yeah.
And then you take the best prospect in NBA history, not the best prospect in NBA history, but like the best prospect in this class and a highly regarded one. And all he's doing is shooting mid-range jumpers. He's handling the ball, shooting mid-rangers, and people are like, he sucks.
Yeah, it's like we got a star white guy taking mid-range jumpers, and you're complaining right now. This is exactly what you wanted. 33% of his shots right now coming from 3 to 10 feet, according to Basketball Reference. About 11% of his shot died in the long mid-range, 16 to the 3-point line. Don't love that necessarily. But yeah, I mean, the case against Flagg all along in fantasy was if you're taking him in the 3rd or even the 4th round, like you need an all-time rookie season. Like you can't, the inefficiency is usually there for any non-big man rookie. And like you need monster counting stats, you need defensive stats to offset that. Right now, I mean, I would say I'd be a little disappointed if I took him in the 4th round. I wouldn't be panicking, but I wouldn't be thrilled.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we said it already. I think he'll be
all
better.
Right. He'll be all right. Okay, we'll hit a couple more and then we got to get out of here. Ant says, "Hey fellas." Hello, Ant. Drop 1. Bilal Coulibaly, Cedric Howard, Quentin Grimes in a category league.
I wish I had more of a sample of Coulibaly. I think there's a world in which Coulibaly should be the most valuable one, but I also don't trust him at all. Grimes is tough because of the Paul George. I don't know. Do you have a strong lean on this?
I like the idea of Coulibaly. He's kind of the one to me where I think you're gonna live with some more ups and downs, I guess. Like I'm pretty in on Cedric Howard. I think it almost benefits him if this Memphis thing really goes sideways and like they either trade Morant or it becomes totally unpalatable and he's not playing. I just don't see a world in which like things don't work out well for him the rest of the season, or like, there's like a roadblock for him, I guess, if that makes sense. Coulibaly is on the Wizards, is injured, and is already fairly inconsistent. So he'd kind of be the guy for me. I mean, I love Quentin Grimes, maybe to a fault. But you're right. There is this wild, wacky idea out there that Paul George is going to come back at some point.
I will say Grimes has really impressed me, or Coward has really impressed me. Like the first 5 games of the year or so, I was like, well, the shooting's kind of crazy and he's kind of only giving you threes and, this and that. And now he's racking up assists. He's getting rebounds and his volume is high. Like he looks like he's getting better basically every game.
Yeah, he's just a perfect Grizzly. Like I wish this team was better around him because he's probably not going to get the fanfare that he deserves for just how much of an NBA ready guy he's been. All right, we'll end with a couple questions here from Zay B. Thoughts on Andrew Nembhard with TJ McConnell coming back soon? I mean, tough to say. We've got like 2 full games out of Nembhard.
I'm in on Nembhard. I got some questions on Twitter about like, what do I do with Nembhard? You don't do anything with him. You hold him. You hope he's the top 70 player like we were anticipating. And again, it's only been 3 games and it's not even been a full sample. And he's looked, his shooting has not been great. The shooting is going to improve, but the usage rate is high. It's very high. So, it's 32% actually with assists counted. So I feel very good. I don't think is going to really cut into him in terms of his minutes or his usage that much. Like there are so many guys on the Pacers playing right now who you cannot name, that those guys are going to be the guys who take a minutes cut.
Nembhard's taken 36 shots in these first 2 games back. He 20 and 16 in those 2 games. He had 1 game last year where he took at least 16 shots. So like we're already trending in a really good direction here for the usage. And like you said, he's 4 for 19 from 3 in those 2 games. So that should come around. The Mathurin factor, where does that weigh in here? Just still going game to game with this toe injury.
Yeah, when he comes back, there will be fewer shots available for Nembhard, but he's going to run the offense, Nembhard. So I'm still all in on him.
All right, and we will end on this. What are your expectations for, I believe this is Kyshawn George. Will he finish top 100 rest of season?
He should. He's ranked 41st right now, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And he's not even shooting that well. I think he will. His assists have cooled down a bit, but I have been a Kyshawn George believer.
Yep.
And I don't really see what's going to happen to make him not a top 100 player.
Yeah, if he's top 50 right now and he's shooting 27% from 3, I think we're on a pretty good path here.
I will say, like, if you're looking at the assists and you're like, well, he's 2, 6, 4, 7 in his most recent games, like, is that going to come back? I am not so sure, because a lot of those dimes were to Walker Kessler.
Yeah.
And Yusuf Nurkic could not finish a lob if it had to save his life. So don't necessarily expect 8, 9, 10 assists every game from now on like it was early in the year.
Yusuf Nurkic, useful in a lot of ways. Maybe not in that particular way. Did have 17 boards the other night against the Detroit Pistons. All right. Thank you, everybody, for all the great questions in the chat. We appreciate everybody watching along live on YouTube. If you're catching this in podcast form, make sure you like, rate, review the podcast. If you're on YouTube, give us a like, throw us some comments. Always like to see those. Alex, my wife is having a child this week. So we will see about this pod on Monday. I'm telling myself like, oh yeah, it'll be totally fine. I'll get some rest. We'll be able to do the show. That may be wishful thinking. Hopefully I will be back with you this time next week. We might have our guy Kieran Sprecher filling in depending on how this all goes, but just want to be transparent. Don't want to cause a panic, if I'm not on the show on Monday, but as always, appreciate all the questions, all the great feedback. And we will hopefully be back with you next Monday. Still 3 more episodes coming your way in this feed throughout the week.